of self-made millionaires are dyslexic, and 35% of entrepreneurs in the United States are dyslexic. Dyslexia is a trait of genius, and you might be sitting next to a dyslexic person right now. I'm Dr. Marianne Cintron. I've been an educator for 25 years and a classroom teacher for 10. And I'm going to talk to you today about unlocking the genius mind of a dyslexic child. First of all, I want to take a moment to thank Mike and Adele McKinney for the opportunity to speak here today, and Dr. Eric Giorgio, thank you. Can we give them an applause for all their hard work? Before I explain how to unlock the genius mind of the dyslexic child, may I share with you a little bit about how I became a dyslexia specialist? Education was my third career. Oops. What does the red mean? Education was my third career. I graduated from UC Santa Barbara in 1979 with an English degree to be a retail buyer. After 10 years, I switched to the engineering department where I met my husband of 33 years. And we had 2 lovely children. We are a blended family, so we have 3 adult kids right now. One day, oh, you don't get that one yet? One day in the late 1990s, I was a room mom in my kids' kinders and first grade classes. And I saw how strategically their teachers taught reading and writing and spelling and phonics. It was a new language to me. And I knew if those teachers hadn't been strategically trained to learn how to teach these, that they could have set my kids on the wrong trajectory. Both my kids had to do a little bit of intervention. Laura stayed after school a few days a week for several months in first grade, and Richard went to summer school between first and second grade. And they developed strong foundational skills for reading. Now my kids aren't dyslexic, so what about the kids that are dyslexic? How much more support do they need? So then the Lord had my first substitute teaching job at a mental health hospital. And He instilled in me the passion to work with children who had mental challenges. It wasn't until I was earning my second master's degree that I learned about dyslexia. And I joined the International Dyslexia Association, of which I'm now a board member in the Tri-County branch. So now I speak to parents who have dyslexic children, and they say they wouldn't want it any other way. And I'm meeting so many dyslexic entrepreneurs that are genius. At the top, there's Dr. Craig Thayer. He's a neurotrauma surgeon. Matthew Head, next to him, is a designer of high-performance cars from Canada. David Weber, down below, is an entrepreneur and a computer programmer. And Christina Becker, at the bottom, was our Miss California 10th runner-up. So now I teach professionals, parents, and teachers who work with dyslexic kids. Dyslexia has a 40% component of genetic component. And frequently I'll hear from adults that they didn't even know that they had dyslexia until their kids get diagnosed. And so dyslexic kids no longer have to feel dumb, get moved ahead without knowing how to read, and we just need to learn it's not a 4-letter word. We shouldn't be afraid to say it. I was sad witnessing kids fail in school and seeing the homes turn into battlefields because of an empowering thing like reading. And a dyslexic child struggles with reading. And I believe if the environment will embrace reading, it'll open up a world of opportunity for those kids and bring peace to the household. The problem is, we were created with the ability to learn apprentice style. So with the Industrial Revolution, we inherited the printing press, and immediately 20% of our population from the 1760s to the 1840s felt like they were wearing a shroud of shame. Those are the dyslexics, 1 in 5. The structure of a typical classroom is not created for the dyslexic child, who needs to move around, ask questions, and have freedom to create. So as a result, the dyslexic child feels dumb and stupid, and they quit trying, And they're dropping out of high school, going into gangs and crime and even prison. 2/3 of the kids who fail to reach grade level reading by 4th grade rarely catch up. They're the ones they're at risk and they're dropping out of high school. 35% of high school dropouts are dyslexic. The illiteracy in our prisons has reached 65.9%. And the illiterate juveniles in our court system, 88%. And it doesn't have to be that way. I'm going to share with you exactly what needs to be done to help these brilliant kids. So here's how we unlock the genius mind of a dyslexic child. I want you to consider 4 things: passion, time, knowledge, and resources. Oops, passion. Oops, is it missing passion? Passion, we are called to help. All right, so the National Association of Educational Progress, or Performance, gives us a report card every year. In spite of our governor signing a mandate in 2015 to assess for dyslexia and provide intervention, we're not doing that. In 2019, their scores were dropping. They look at the grades of the 4th and 8th graders, and the 4th graders even dropped another point when they were going higher, and the 8th graders dropped 3 points. So let me ask you, how many of you ever received a C- in a class that you had to just take this class, but it wasn't your interest, you just had to take it as a requirement? Anybody? Anybody get a C- in a class that had another progression to it, and other kids were getting A's and B's, but you got the C- and you were just so glad because you need that next class? So C- is how the NAEP sees proficiency. So we know if we've had C-minuses, you certainly don't feel proficient with a C-. I have a friend who worked at the Department of Justice, and he told me that he knew a district back east, and I know it if you want to ask me privately, that looked at the illiteracy scores of 3rd graders to determine how many prisons to build. So we had homeschooled a student who didn't know his letter names and sounds going into 2nd grade. He thought his baby sister was smarter than him. And so now Cruz is entering 5th grade, and he has spent 3 years with us, and he is comprehending at a 7th grade level. No, he's comprehending at an 8th grade level, reading at a 7th grade level, and he has the intelligence of a 7th grader going into 5th grade. Next, I'm going to ask you to consider time. Well, there's a little picture of Cruz. You can see him with his tutor. And now those accommodations will look different for different kids, but it means more time on tests. How many like those oral exams? Better than written? And you have more peer support, technology support if needed. So we need to be educating all of our children, and they need to be making good choices. So remember, self-esteem is hit hard with the dyslexic children. We need to understand that it's God's heart for all kids to be reading, and dyslexia is not a 4-letter word. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is how we help the dyslexic mind of the dyslexic child. I want to show you a little bit more of the athletes. We have Tim Tebow there, and then some of the other. I love how Tim Tebow is giving God glory. And so what we offer, God let me start a learning program, a learning center. So it's Cintron Gillingham Reading Institute, which is a virtual training center. And I have my reading curriculum in 2 levels. Awesome. And what I want to share that we can do is repent as a nation, Metanoia, that we have taken God from our schools back in the 60s. Request that the school boards return to prayer like some of the city councils pray. How about our school boards? Yes. And maybe we can return the 10 Commandments to the office where so many kids are sent for detention. Vote for school board and legislators who believe in the Constitution, traditional family values, and biblical morals and values in our school. And pray for our projects. and that we get the funding for the helping the prisoners next year.
Amen.
You've been an awesome audience. Thank you for your attention and participation. And remember, every child has a right to read.
Yes.